So track number 5 is The Sickest Man in Scotland. What do you remember about this one? It came from, was it just the guitar riff?
I think it was just the guitar riff, and I think it might have been like one of the shortest little demos that I gave you. Like, I think genuinely maybe like a 16-second demo.
16 seconds.
Yeah, like of
playing
just
guitar ended up as a fucking 7-minute long song.
yeah, yeah, I think pretty much, because I think that I've always tried to kind of record snippets of guitar if there's something I even remotely like in the house, and like, you know, just like a phone recording or something. And I think that for whatever reason that must have been like a little snippet of like 4 chords, finger picking 4 chords put together.
Mm-hmm.
I just put that down there, and I remember you saying that that the feel of those, just even that short thing, just fitted exactly with a kind of set of lyrics you were working on. And I think you basically said, just repeat it. And so I think it pretty, you know, obviously there's that whole thing of you try and build the track up and you try to have it like accentuate certain things in the lyrics and sort of for it to flow as a track. But yeah, it ended up just being that little snippet of guitar repeated.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I kind of loved that. I love just there's a weird kind of dark art to when you are sending me demos. I will listen to stuff and be like, something just clicks, something just connects, and it could be something that you've spent ages writing that you love that you send to me, and I just go, no, it's not. And yeah, this like 16 seconds of you fanning about on a guitar, and I'm like, nope, that's the one. That's the thing. And I can't explain why. It just, certain things just connect to my brain and connect to a feeling that I have. And that was one of them. It just connected to an overall feeling, and it connected to, oh, this could be that lyric. This could be that song. Because I think at that point I had the title, The Sickest Man in Scotland, in my head. And I had maybe a stanza or something. And then I just jumped off. Well, I think I just asked you to loop it, and you maybe sent me the thing just looped over and over again. And I just played it in the background and then just wrote. And then I ended up with like pages and pages of this kind of stream of consciousness kind of outpouring. And it's really like lyrically, I think it's maybe like I know I'm kind of known for it being a bit raw, but it's definitely one of the rawest things I've ever written, in terms of felt like I was looking at different parts of my psyche and taking them apart, and then moving on to the next one. But it ended up being this beautiful song, even though, you know, the subject matter's quite kind of dark. It's that juxtaposition again.
Yeah, because I think exactly. I think I was surprised when I've heard like your first full pass at the lyrics, because the music has got that kind of meandering feel. Like it's quite soft, and it's kind of it's quite pretty in places, and then to have some of those lyrics kind of sitting on top.
Yeah,
it's like it's got this kind of, you know, you're speaking it, but it's got this kind of melodic feel to it. But but the words are obviously so kind of harsh and raw in places, and it's nice. I think that's really good sometimes to have that kind of. It kind of doesn't make. I think the music kind of doesn't take you into that zone where everything feels too uncomfortable. Like it kind of feels. It's got that kind of nice feeling, and it's also that thing where I think at times it accentuates the lyrics, just because you've got this feeling, and these words kind of take you. You know, they're doing just enough to not make you feel massively uncomfortable, but they're doing enough to, like, so that when some of those lyrics sort of jump out at you, kind of think,
that was definitely one of the intentions in terms of writing it, was exploring those things and kind of talking about it in a really matter-of-fact way, and kind of, you know, it felt like a weird musical therapy session of like kind of taking stock of yourself and taking stock of your life, and then just putting it to music, which is a very strange thing to be doing with your time. I think I was quite inspired by definitely some Arab strap stuff in terms of the spoken word delivery, but also what's the Wilco song? Is it Some Sunday Morning?
Oh yeah.
I think that does quite a similar thing in juxtapositioning a beautiful kind of riff and musical arrangement that I think feels quite, I don't know, rural, quite kind of country-esque. There's something about it that feels like I think when I listen to the music of Sickest Man in Scotland, if you just had the music and then I'd written a poem for the tourist board of Scotland and we'd done that, like it'd be perfect. Do you know what I mean? We could get that sync money and
send them this video and see if, and that'll be our that'll be our punt to get the next
yeah, I'd love it, but you know what I mean? It feels like, in a weird way, it feels to me like Heathers. It feels like the Scottish Highlands. It feels like a big, wide open, beautiful space. And then to have these lyrics that are, so we've got the rural music and then the urban lyrics, and then putting them together. There's these lyrics about what it's like to live in a city, what it's like to feel lonely in a city, what are the things that we do in our lives when we are in these concrete spaces, and then put it on top of this this beautiful kind of music, and then see what happens. And there was a wee bit of magic when we done that. It just kind of sparked instantly.
Yeah, I think one of the big things for me for this track was Shane Connolly coming in and putting those drums down again, because I think there was no question, and this needed real drums to have that really soft, languid feel to it. Like there's just no way you could have done that with electronic drums. Yeah. And so like when you're just repeating a guitar riff over and over again, it's kind of easy when there's nothing else there. But then that idea that you've now got a 7-minute long song or whatever, and it has to do something dynamic, and even if it's subtle, and so you've kind of got to think that through. But then it's so much easier when you've got this bass. So just even though the acoustic does it all the way through, like I was a bit of a loss as to what all the things that would be added to it. But once you've got this drum structure in place, a lot of the kind of overdubs that we did it made much more sense once you had the drums in place, and like a lot of like the pretty little sounds. It kind of, the drums kind of told you where to give you the spaces to put those things in. I mean, the vocals as well, obviously, ultimately, but like the drums really were for me were the bed for that.
Yeah, I mean, and the vocals are just so freewheeling, which is one of the strongest elements of the track, but also probably the biggest pain in the arse in terms of recording it and doing it live, because sometimes I just slow down because it just feels like it should slow down. And sometimes I speed up because it feels like it should speed up, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. Where, you know, it's just that it's definitely the most kind of, you know, reactive performance I've ever done in terms of delivering lyrics, because it always went on how I was feeling, how the room was feeling, how the music was feeling to me at that time. And I don't think we ever done 2 takes the same ever the whole time.
Definitely not. Yeah. I do remember one of the nicest things for me, like musically, that's on the album is like the little high piano notes that are in this tune. And that's sort of a happy accident, because when we did some of the sort of the bass recordings for this in that little sort of cottage studio, the piano that we were working with was so out of tune. But the only, like, some of the only notes were much higher up the register. So some of the stuff that I was going to play, I was just like, I can't play this. So the piano's out of tune. And so he ended up just like mucking about with some of the higher notes because they were the only ones that were actually in tune with the music. And yeah, just like pure happy accident. But all that sort of doodling about the high notes ended up being actually one of the nicest, kind of prettiest things on the album, I guess. But certainly, like, it ended up fitting really well with that.
Definitely. I feel like those little piano motifs like totally make it for me. I remember when I heard them for the first time, I was like, yeah, of course, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the best response you can have when you're creating a piece of music, is when you do something, you go, of course, that was the thing. Because once you've done it, you're like, yeah, it couldn't be anything else apart from this thing that we've just done right this second.
Yeah. And yeah, because I think, like, even though it's like a really soft thing and like quite quiet, some of those piano notes for me are like, they're kind of more the sort of emotional reaction to hearing that tune, and for them to come in, that's more electric than like this big bombastic thing. Sometimes you listen to a track and you want this big thing to happen, makes you go, "Wah." But like sometimes, but for me, like on the album and certainly in that track, it's like the piano notes are the little thing that come in and just they've like in a pure lucky way, they've managed to like add just that little bit more emotion, just even above like what you're already doing the vocal, which is, I mean, it's just pure luck half the time to do that. I mean, that definitely wasn't one of those ones that was by design. That was just mucking about.
Yeah. I feel like you need to open yourself up to the luck though, right? It's like you need to put yourself in a position to try these things and to feel them and to get them when you do.
Yeah, I think like when we were saying on one of the other tracks about like how quite often you go into the studio with a really definitive plan over what you want to do. And I think because that song, a lot of that song was recorded at an earlier stage where we didn't have as much of a plan, so there is that little bit more freedom to go in and kind of do stuff and kind of muck about with ideas. I think as a band, I think we're quite good at doing that. It's like,
yeah,
there's no point in kind of closing the door to some of those things, and I actually quite like going in and hitting record with not much of an idea in mind about what you're going to play, because it definitely makes you play things that you would, if you were kind of if you really were sitting down and processing all, you wouldn't necessarily play. It's kind of nice just to hit record and just see what happens sometimes.
Yeah, it felt like a really important part of the process in this album was being able to experiment with things, and I think the time scale that we had for it and the way we went about it really, you know, accentuated that as well. Like, so we had a recording session where we kind of recorded the songs like a lot. I mean, we recorded most of the songs as we wanted them, but they weren't 100% ready.
Yeah.
And then the time from then to then going into Chem 19 and re-recording bits and re-recording the vocals and doing the overdubs and doing the mixing, by that point we knew exactly what it was we were wanting to do with them, and that space to listen to them and to feel them and to work out what it is we wanted to do, it was a really big factor, and it really made me realise that you cannot rush it. You just can't rush these things. You just need to take your time with them and enjoy the process a wee bit as well, I think.
Yeah. One last wee thing I think I remember doing is that when Jamie Savage was mixing this track, and he did this thing where I think for the whole final verse, he kind of faded everything out, like the drums and the guitar stuff, and just left this big synthy thing in. And it's one of those funny ones where the first time he did it, he absolutely hated it, and I was just like, what's he doing? He's destroyed the end of this track. And then you kind of take away the mix, and then you give it a few days, and then you listen to it, and you think, it's maybe not so bad. And now like I can't imagine it doing any other thing apart from to have this like kind of, well, I'll say bizarre, but it's like it's kind of natural feeling now, this like big sort of like spacey end to it. But again, I think we're lucky to have worked with Jamie, who's like kind of knows enough of us to know that you can try that, and you're not just because I reckon there's quite a lot of bands that you would go in where if you try to change like what a track would sound like, there would be quite a bit of sort of fight against that. But actually, it's lovely working with somebody in the studio who can mix, who's willing even to give it a go. And in that track, that worked amazingly well. Like I love how that track kind of ends now. It's great.
Yeah, it feels like a really pivotal moment in the album, actually. You know, when everything kind of drops out and that synth is just kind of buzzing, and the last few lines of the song are delivered, and it just feels like, oh, there we go. Like that's that, because this track kind of sits, you know, at the center of the album, and that's deliberate because we kind of felt like it was, you know, in many ways encapsulated a lot of what the album's about and the general feel of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, here it is. Have a wee listen. This is The Sickest Man in Scotland.
The disembodied pinging of WhatsApp notifications alerts me to the meaningless nature of modern conversation, the binary code masquerading as communication. Isolated nodes sending GIFs as distress signals. My friends are crying out for interaction, longing for the primal buzz of human contact. But I am obsessed with my own latent potential. Time is my only currency, and I'm only willing to spend it on myself. The sickest man in Scotland. Sometimes I go days without talking to a soul. Wrapped up in my own bad narratives, I use a self-service checkout at Tesco like a bad socialist, so the girl at the till won't judge my life choices, namely crisps, hummus and craft beer. I drift through the forge like the ghost of my childhood. I walk these artificial streets with my mother. The shops may have changed, but the desperation remains the same. The sickest man in Scotland. I troll the internet on a mindless loop, clicking on the same 10 pages in a meaningless rotation of digital self-harm, before predictably succumbing to my base desires. I lubricate myself with hate and begin. You see, I want to ejaculate my grief out into the world, make society complicit in my loathsome unloading, an unholy aggregate of shame. The sickest man in Scotland. I work until I'm exhausted on art no one asked for, while the day goes about its routine unperturbed. I'm a highly driven nihilist, berating myself for not doing enough, while content in the knowledge that nothing matters anyway. I wish I could sever my potential, cut it from me with a knife, dispose of it with my misdeeds at the bottle bank. I want to free myself from the burden of feeling, to extricate myself from the chains of expectation. The sickest man in Scotland. I slip into my lover's bed without a word exchanged. Life's existing in parallel. I dreamt of this exact image as a child, only in Technicolor. When my time comes, make sure to bury me deep so my toxicity can't leak out and infect anyone else. I'll curl up in my coffin with my sins, finally contented. I used to smoke cigarettes, now I just share memes. Each brings me a little closer to death. Sickest man in Scotland. These days I find myself walking to retail parks and industrial estates, anonymous markers on the city limits. Glasgow looks like a mirage, a stoner's dream of a city. It twinkles with possibilities and disappointments. 2 million people waiting for forgiveness. 2 million people waiting to die. While the Clyde snakes its dark portal through the estates. A weary way out, a silent exit. The sickest man in Scotland. The sickest man in Scotland. The sickest man in Scotland.